welcome to Heavenly Storytelling. We are going to be reading a story, but first up we are going to be reading the Bible. No, wait, first up we are going to be doing a magic trick with this thing, and then you're going to be doing the synopsis, and then you're going to be reading the Bible, and then you're going to be reading the synopsis, and then you're going to be reading the Pilgrim's Progress. Hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like button, subscribe. This is, hit the bell and the video. This is spring. I'm going to do a magic trick with the spring. Put the spring down. I'm going to make it appear at my hands. I'm just checking. I'm doing it for the live stream, not you guys. Alright. It's an easy magic trick. It's easy. That's all I know.
Okay, I don't know what you're doing, but I think it's my turn.
I'm doing the trick now.
Okay. Oh, I don't know how you did it. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. Hi, everybody. How are you? And I keep forgetting to do that. Okay, perfect. All right, so, hello, two people. Thank you for being here. One of my favorite books or chapters rather, in the Bible we're about to read today. I don't know why I like it, but it is a central passage that actually means quite a bit in the Old Testament. So let's go ahead and get started. This is Exodus chapter 19. This is the English Standard Version, and I'm sorry I'm fussing with my camera angle. All right, here we go. Exodus chapter 19. On the third new moon, after the people of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on that day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. They set out from Rephidim and came into the wilderness of Sinai, and they encamped in the wilderness. There Israel encamped before the mountain, while Moses went up to God. The Lord called to him out of the mountain, saying, "This you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the people of Israel, you yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel." So Moses came and called the elders of the people and set before them all these words that the Lord had commanded him. All the people answered together and said, "All that the Lord has spoken we will do." And Moses reported the words of the people to the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I am coming to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and may also believe you forever." When Moses told the words of the people to the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their garments and be ready for the third day. For on the third day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people, and you shall set limits for the people all around, saying, 'Take care not to go up into the mountain or touch the edge of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall be put to death. No hand shall touch him, but he shall be stoned or shot, whether beast or man, he shall not live. When the trumpet sounds a long blast, they shall come up to the mountain.' So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and consecrated the people, and they washed their garments. And he said to the people, 'Be ready for the third day. Do not go near a woman.' On the morning of the third day there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast, so that all the people in the camp trembled. Then Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they took their stand at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke, because the Lord had descended on it in fire. The smoke of it went up like a smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain trembled greatly. And as the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him in thunder. The Lord came down on Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain, and the Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go down and warn the people, lest they break through to the Lord, and look, and many of them perish." To the Lord to look, and many of them perish. Also, let the priests who come near to the Lord consecrate themselves, lest the Lord break out against them. And Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you yourself warned us, saying, 'Set limits around the mountain and consecrate it.' And the Lord said to him, 'Go down and come up, bringing Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to the Lord, lest he break out against them.' So Moses went down to the people and told them." And that's the end of Exodus chapter 19. I think I really just like this promise that he made. It is a conditional promise, if you notice, and it kind of carries the theme for the rest of the Old Testament. If you are into reading all of that, which is what we do here. But it says, "If you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel." So that is God's promise to his people, that if they do this, then he will do that. And we see in Judges that God kept his promise, but the conditional part of the promise that Israel was supposed to keep was not always kept in the best of standards, as we read in the book of Judges at one point, and I believe we also read 1st and 2nd Samuel at one point. So we know that obviously Israel does not keep the commands that God gives them, but the promise is there. All right, so my Pilgrim's Progress is over there, so I can't open it up, but I do know that Christian and Apollyon had a great battle, and Christian just got whooped because Apollyon was just a tough beast. And so
Dad.
Here's Kimberly to say how it really happened.
So what actually happened was Christian did fight Apollyon, and just as he was about to kill Christian, he grabbed his sword and stabbed Apollyon. And the fight in total lasted over half a day, which is crazy to think about. I mean, and Christian, he was tired in the first 5 minutes. So, yeah. And he is currently in the Valley of Humiliation. I'm sorry, I forgot that last time. As you can see, I was very stumbling over my words. I couldn't exactly remember what had happened. I'm going to hand it off to Dad, who's going to read us a story.
So what Kimberly didn't say is that before the fight happened, Christian and Apollyon had a nice little dialogue in which Apollyon was reminding Christian of all the times when Christian did the wrong thing and saying, "Hey, listen, I'll take you back. You can be part of my kingdom once again, and I'll just pretend like none of it ever happened." And, of course, Christian said, "Nope, because God's going to take me, and he redeemed me and forgave me and all that and everything." All right, so now we're on to chapter 18, which is Evil Report, Valley of Shadow of Death. So this is Evil Report, Valley of Shadow of Death. Chapter 18, let me get started. In this combat no man can imagine, unless he had seen and heard as I did, that yelling and hideous roaring Apollyon made all the time of the fight. He spake like a dragon, and on the other side what sighs and groans burst from Christian's heart. I never saw him all the while give so much as one pleasant look, till he perceived he had wounded Apollyon with his two-edged sword. Then, indeed, he did smile and look upward, but it was the dreadfulest sight that I ever saw. Excuse me. A more unequal match can hardly be. Christian must fight an angel, but you see, the valiant man by handling sword and shield make him the dragon quit the field. So when the battle was over, Christian said, I will here give thanks to him that hath delivered me out of the mouth of the lion, to him that did help me against Apollyon. And so he did, saying, Great Beelzebub, the captain of this fiend, designed my ruin, therefore to this end. He sent him harnessed out, and he with rage, that hellish was, did fiercely me engage. But blessed Michael helped me, and I, by dint of sword, did quickly make him fly. Therefore to him let me give lasting praise, and thank and bless his holy name always. Then there came to him a hand with some of the leaves of the tree of life, with which Christian took and applied to the wounds that he had received in the battle, and was healed immediately. He also sat down in that place to eat bread and to drink of the bottle that was given him a little before. So being refreshed, he addressed himself to his journey with his sword drawn in his hand, for he said, I know not but some other enemy may be at hand. But he met with no other affront from Apollyon quite through this valley. Now at the end of this valley was another, called the Valley of the Shadow of Death, and Christian must needs go through it, because the way to the celestial city lay through the midst of it. Now this valley is a very solitary place. The prophet Jeremiah thus describes it: a wilderness, a land of deserts and pits, a land of drought and of the shadow of death, a land that no man, but a Christian, passeth through, and where no man dwelt. Now here Apollyon was worse put to it than in his fight with, Now here Christian, did I say Apollyon?
Yes.
Now here Christian, it's because Apollyon's in the next line, and my brain did that. Christian was worse put to it than in his fight with Apollyon, as by the sequel you shall see. I saw then in my dream that when Christian was got to the borders of the shadow of death, there met him two men, children of them, that brought up an evil report of the good land, making haste to go back, to whom Christian spake as follows. Christian, whither are you going? The two men. They said, back, back, and we would have you do so too, if either life or peace is prized by you. Christian, why? What's the matter? Said Christian. The two men, matter? Said they. We were going that way as you are going, and went as far as we durst. And indeed, we were almost past coming back, for had we gone a little further, we had not been here to bring the news to thee. Christian, but what have you met with? Said Christian. The two men, why, we were almost in the valley of the shadow of death, but that, by good hap, we looked before us and saw the danger before we came to it. Christian, but what have you seen? Said Christian, the two men. Seen? Why, the valley itself, which is as dark as pitch. We also saw there the hobgoblins, satyrs, and dragons of the pit. We heard also in the valley a continual howling and yelling as of a people under unutterable misery, who there sat bound in affliction and irons, and over that valley hang the discouraging clouds of confusion. Death also doth always spread his wings over it. In a word, it is every whit dreadful, being utterly without order. Christian. Then, said Christian, I perceive not yet by what you have said, but that this is my way to the desired haven. The two men, be it thy way, we will not choose it for ours. So they parted, and Christian went on his way, but still with his sword drawn in his hand, for fear lest he should be assaulted. I saw then in my dream, so far as this valley reached, there was on the right hand a very deep ditch. That ditch is it into which the blind have led the blind in all ages, and have both there miserably perished. Again, behold, on the left hand there was a very dangerous quag, into which if even a good man falls, he finds no bottom for his foot to stand on into the quag. King David once did fall, and had no doubt therein been smothered, had not he that is able plucked him out. The pathway was here also exceeding narrow, and therefore good Christian was the more put to it, for when he sought in the dark to shun the ditch on the one hand, he was ready to tip over into the mire on the other. Also, when he sought to escape the mire without great carefulness, he would be ready to fall into the ditch. Thus he went on, and I heard him here sigh bitterly, for besides the danger mentioned above, the pathway was here so dark that oft times when he lifted up his foot to go forward, he knew not where or upon what he should set it next. Poor man, where art thou now? The day is night. Good man, be not cast down. Thou yet art right. Thy way to heaven lies by the gate of hell. Cheer up, hold out. With thee it shall go well. About the midst of this valley I perceived the mouth of hell to be, and it stood also hard by the wayside. Now, thought Christian, what shall I do? And ever and anon the flame and smoke would come out in such abundance, with sparks and hideous noises, things that cared not for the Christian's sword, as did Apollyon before, that he was forced to put up his sword and betake himself to another weapon, called all prayer. So he cried in my hearing, O Lord, I beseech thee, deliver my soul. Thus he went on a great while, yet still the flames would be reaching toward him. Also he heard doleful voices and rushings to and fro, so that sometimes he thought he should be torn in pieces, or trodden down like mire in the streets. This frightened sight was seen, and these dreadful noises were heard by him for several miles together, and coming to a place where he thought he heard a company of fiends coming forward to meet him, he stopped and began to muse what he had best to do. Sometimes he had half a thought to go back. Then again he thought he might be halfway through the valley. He remembered also how he had already vanquished many a danger, and that the danger of going back might be much more than to go forward. So he resolved to go on, yet the fiends seemed to come nearer and nearer. But when they were come even almost at him, he cried out with a most vehement voice, I will walk in the strength of the Lord God. So they gave back and came no farther. One thing I would not let slip. I took notice that now poor Christian was so confounded that he did not know his own voice, and thus I perceived it. Just when he was come over against the mouth of the burning pit, one of the wicked ones got behind him, and stepping up softly to him, and whisperingly suggested many grievous blasphemies to him, which he verily thought had proceeded from his own mind. This put Christian more to it than anything that he met with before, even to think that he should now blaspheme him that he loved so much before. Yet if he could have helped it, he would not have done it. But he had not the discretion either to stop his ears or to know from whence these blasphemies came. When Christian had travelled in this disconsolate condition some considerable time, he thought he heard the voice of a man, as going before him, saying, Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Then he was glad, and that for these reasons. First, because he gathered from thence that some who feared God were in this valley, as well as himself. Secondly, for that he perceived God was with them, though in that dark and dismal state. And why not, thought he, with me, though by reason of impediment that attends this place, I cannot perceive it. Thirdly, for he hoped he could, for that he hoped, could he overtake them, to have company by and by. So he went on and called to him that was before, but he knew not what to answer, for that he also thought himself to be alone. And by the day broke. Then said Christian, He hath turned the shadow of death into morning. Now morning being come, he looked back, not out of desire to return, but to see by the light of the day what hazards he had gone through in the dark. So he saw more perfectly the ditch that was on the one hand, and the quag that was on the other, also how narrow the way was which led betwixt them both. Also now he saw the hobgoblins, the satyrs, and the dragons of the pit, but all afar off, for after break of day they came not nigh, yet they were discovered to him, according to that which is written, He discovereth deep things out of darkness, and bringeth out to light the shadow of death. Now was Christian much affected with this deliverance from all the dangers of his solitary way, which dangers, though he feared them much before, yet he saw them more clearly now, because the light of the day made them conspicuous to him. And about this time the sun was rising, and this was another mercy to Christian. For you must note that though the first part of the valley of the shadow of death was dangerous, yet the second part, which he was yet to go, was, if possible, far more dangerous. For from the place where he now stood, even to the end of the valley, the way was all along set so full of snares, traps, gins, and nets here, and so full of pits, pitfalls, deep holes, and shelvings down there, that had it now been dark, as it was when he came the first part of the way, had he had 1,000 souls, they had in reason been cast away. But as I said just now, the sun was rising. Then, said he, His candle shineth on my head, and by his light I go through darkness. In this light, therefore, he came to the end of the valley. Now I saw in my dream that at the end of the valley lay blood, bones, ashes, and mangled bodies of men, even of pilgrims that had gone this way formerly. And while I was musing what should be the reason, I espied a little before me a cave where two giants, Pope and Pagan, dwelt in old times, by whose power and tyranny the men whose bones, blood, ashes, etc. lay there were cruelly put to death. But by this place Christian went without much danger, whereat I somewhat wondered, but I have learnt since that Pagan has been dead many a day, and as for the other, though he be yet alive, he is, by reason of age, and also of the many shrewd brushes that he met with in his younger days, grown so crazy and stiff in his joints, that he can now do little more than sit in his cave's mouth, grinning at pilgrims as they go by, and biting his nails, because he cannot come at them. So I saw that Christian went on his way, yet at the sight of the old man that sat at the mouth of the cave, he could not tell what to think, especially because he spoke to him, though he could not go after him, saying, You will never mend till more of you be burned. But he held his peace, and set a good face on it, and so went by, and catched no hurt. Then sang Christian, O world of wonders, I can say no less, that I should be preserved in that distress that I have met with here, O blessed be, that hand that from it hath delivered me. Dangers in darkness, devils, hell, and sin did compass me while I this vale was in. Yea, snares and pits and traps and nets did lie my path about, that worthless silly I might have been catched and tangled and cast down, but since I live, let Jesus wear the crown. That is the end of chapter 18, in which he went through the valley of the shadow of death. Yeah, so Pope and pagan, obviously, these are the two things that have caused the martyrs of the Christian faith, and the Pope is representative, not literally the Pope, but representative of the Church in the name of what is Christian, actually martyring Christians, ironically. And of course, at the time of this writing, I think that the evangelical church probably thought that the Catholic Church was pretty much done with, or at least that's how they considered them. It was written in the 1600s, so that's a good 150 years after the Protestant Reformation began, and so anyway, I could go on and on about a history lesson, but I know we don't really want the commentaries to exceed the storytelling. So I will close it for there, and God bless you. Have a super day, and we will see you again next time. Thank you.